It's this one.
Go ahead.
So this is the 7 suns, that very same diagram we saw before. And we drew in the 7 moons. It's pretty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because Baba then is going to go on to say that there are, in fact, 7 moons. Okay.
So why don't you start raising your hands? Oh, I think you've already started. And
Mhm.
I'm going to allow you to unmute yourselves, but please only unmute yourself when I ask you to, or when you're called on. So we have Thursday first.
Yes, a question arose when we were looking at that octopus figure. And it seems from the lecture that only the world in the 3 worlds A, B, and C get suns. And I was curious if Baba ever mentioned the others, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Do they ever get any suns? And are we talking about the physical sun or of course, this is so esoteric, we don't know. But in order for life to have existed on other planets of lesser than human existence, should there have been a sun there as well? And maybe Baba just did not emphasize it. I don't know. Do you?
Yeah, no, but actually I never thought about it. Baba never addressed the topic. Baba did say that this 7th world ABC, with A, B, and C all being really part of the same world, even though they're separate from each other at the same time, was unique. And every other world seems to be solo and singular. I would infer from that myself that they all would have suns. Well, I don't know. Do they all? They would cast their reflections into Pokol. So if there's who knows?
The sun shines equally on all. It's just a matter of their evolutionary stage, if they can receive, to what extent they can receive.
If you have planets, just using common sense, if you have planets floating out there that are just pure rocks, you wouldn't think they'd especially need a sun. But the logic that he's given, that the world casts its reflection into space, into Pokol, which receives the light of a light globe, it would seem to be applicable to other planets too. And there doesn't seem there would be any reason for there to be this 7 sun thing, because that's a unique feature of this 7th world with A, B, and C so closely linked with each other. That's what I would think.
Mm-hmm. Ward, I think it's also a matter of distance from the source, I guess, from the creation own point, although the own point is within everything. That and your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim.
Thank you.
I think that we could probably read this and come to really understand it. It has a logic, as you say, an intrinsic logic that makes it all be able to put together into one solid analysis or narrative of what's going on. But the bigger question arises, what does it all mean? What how are we to take this?
That's right.
I mean, it's like a myth or something. It's like a great story of creation and how it all came about. And it's logical and it's beautiful, incredibly beautiful, and beyond our imagination in a way. I mean, he stretches the imagination to think of these things. But you wonder really, what is it going to eventually mean in the new humanity and all of that? Just kind of
and why did Baba take the time to explain this to these boys?
Yeah, exactly. It's
I think he's setting it up for his next advent. That's what I think.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a question that probably can't be answered, but on the other hand,
I know it's a very relevant question. Lots of people are going to ask it.
It's kind of naturally out of all of this.
I mean, just to say the very, very obvious, this figure of the light globe and the 3 planets and the 7 suns obviously does not describe anything observable through gross means in our solar system. I mean, obviously it doesn't. I mean, there aren't 3 planets with human life, and you can't have reflections from planet Earth, creating further suns for another world within our solar system. Obviously, it's not talking about that.
Yeah.
There have been indications elsewhere that the light globes here, I mean, we can clearly see they're not suns, right? They're the source of the light. So I would presume that they must be something in the inner worlds in some way. So the best I can do with this is it's describing in some way fundamental principles, they're actually logical principles by which the gross sphere derives from the subtle. Something like that.
Yeah.
And maybe there will be a new science, a subtle science that grows up in the future.
Wow. And Bob does seem to say that the science will eventually come to understand this. That didn't he? One of the lectures.
He did. Mm-hmm.
So we're in the dark, I guess.
Yeah.
It's amazing stuff.
Did you all follow this whole chart and how the logic of it? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's so peculiar that, you just have to understand it in logical terms. But do you see how this light globe and these 3 shadows wind up creating the appearance of 7 suns? Did you understand all of that logic?
I think we got.
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
Okay, I have several things. One is I had a hard time following how the 3 worlds A, B, and C are included in, I don't quite follow the concept of 7th range and why that the 3 together make a 7th world. I mean, so that's one part. And then concurrently with that, how that relates to the stone and wind, and metal. And then in the 7th, I understand that you get the rest of evolution. But anyway, that I just was trying to integrate those. So that's one thing. The second thing is I wonder if one reason we don't see further suns or globes or whatever is because perhaps they would also annihilate themselves, but we don't know enough to understand that. But Baba did, and therefore none further are explained. And then the final thing is I often think about how Baba thought, what he was thinking, what he saw, what he heard. And, in a lot of the discourses and various other places, Baba talked about seeing lights. And my guess is it's light globes that he saw. And what I find he does is he takes analogies from the physical gross world to explain all of these things that he actually saw. So, I mean, I couldn't have followed it unless he explained it. I did follow the image in Pokal, the sun shining, the reflection back, and the A to A prime and all of that. That I could follow. But maybe you could elaborate more on those, especially the 1, 2, and 3, the A, B, and C worlds being part of something called the 7th range, which I don't quite get what he means by range.
So Elizabeth, for the sake of the recording, can you state what your first question is for Ward? And then
the first question was a further explanation of how worlds A, B, and C are included in something called 7th range.
Okay.
I think he's also called it 7th world because originally he said there were, my understanding, 7 worlds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So how are 1, 2, and 3 then 7? Or maybe or what is the distinction between the A, B, and C in 7 and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7?
Okay.
And the
Yeah,
octave
the
five.
you know, for people who really want to dig into this, I really strongly do urge you to read the appendix because there are a lot of puzzles here. One of them is that in certain places, it sounds like Baba is saying that the 7th range here contains only worlds A, B, and C. But there are many indications that there are other worlds in that range. So I talk about that in that appendix. Remember that Baba was explaining this. He was still talking in the West Tank Room, which is now the museum, right? And you had like 100 boys seated on the floor, and it was nighttime. So I think in some of these issues, Baba kind of cut short or simplified his explanation a little bit. And what I think is most likely is that this 7th, or this, and as is shown here, this range G, here we get these letters here, is actually a range with innumerable planets, or actually 18,000 with human life. And A, B, and C are at the head of the ranks. And these 3 planets are in some fundamental way deeply linked with each other. You know, they are probably very far apart in the gross sphere. They could be light years apart from each other in the gross sphere, but through some kind of, this is me talking, Baba didn't say this, through some kind of a interrelation between the gross and subtle spheres, they're actually very, very close. Baba said this again much, much later. He said these planets are very close to each other, although they appear to be very far away. So I would take that to mean on the gross plane, they're very distant, but in some inner subtle aspect of their genesis, of their derivation from the light globe, they're intimately connected with each other. That's what I take that to mean.
So Ward, you just said G is a range. So does that mean D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M? All of those are ranges, and would A, B, and C also be a range then?
A, B, and C, he refers to it sometimes as the 7th world, and they have kind of a special and unique status, it seems. They're at the very head of the processional, and these 3 planets are all really one world in some way. See, this diagram almost shows as though the planets at the head of each processional have some kind of special status. I don't know if that's true or not, but they're drawn that way here. But these, you see, there is a big question. Are there 3 worlds with human life, and are there 18,000 worlds with human life? Because there is a footnote in God Speaks that says there are 3 worlds with human life. And in that appendix, I speculated that a note might have been written by Ramju Abdullah, who did have an involvement in God Speaks. But the evidence is much, much stronger that Baba really said there are 18,000 planets with human life. And thus this G range would actually have 18,000 planets. But anyway, that particular topic is dealt with a lot in that appendix.
Well, maybe at the end, Ward, if we have time left over, we could take a peek at the appendix.
Sure.
All right. So let's wait for them. Thank you, Elizabeth. And Christina.
Hi, Ward. How are you?
Hey, Christina. Jai Baba.
Ward, first off, I don't mean any disrespect to you, but I don't think of you as the final authority on the content of interpretation of the words and diagrams in the original source.
Of course not.
Thank you. And I hope that no one else does either. And secondly, as I read this, hear it being read, and see these diagrams, especially the source diagrams, I have this flooding sensation and clarity in my mind, as if it is a waterfall of logical information. And this stuff makes complete sense to me. The fact of that makes no sense to me. So my comments are not from some, or maybe they are, I don't know, but they don't feel or seem to be like I'm making stuff up. It seems to be that I'm a boat on a river and the river is accurate. So that's, just want to say that. All of this business of the suns and the globes and the light, and to my mind, it is all about the flow of the thinking and the imagination, the logic of it, that it isn't just magic, that there is a very logical and predictable flow. Now, I mean, it becomes so complex that it's impossible to predict at a certain point. But this beginning of the 1, the 2, and the 4 shows the mechanism. And to me, it's the law of sanskaras. It's the law of how reactivity takes place, the law of impressions. And when one impression causes 2, causes 4, and so on, it's extremely logical. And that this is all imagination seems to me to indicate that it's the divine journey. It is how the imagination and the thinking progresses, and those 7 that is reflected in involution as well. It's the involving consciousness that would then unimagine. Let's put it that way. How do you say that? Unimagine. And that's why it's closer and closer to the original light, the original source, as one goes on involution. It's all just elements or factors or components or laws, rules of the imagination and the thinking. So to me, it's like this, it's a beautiful mosaic, and it's beyond words, because the words are just symbols. This is closer to the truth because it's a metaphor. Anyway,
there's no doubt that there's even though the picture Baba's giving is such a strange one, all of this is very logical. I mean, actually taken on its own terms. So I haven't talked much about the thinking and the imagination, because that would really take people versed in infinite intelligence to know what that means. But I'll throw this in there for people who are acquainted with infinite intelligence. I was very puzzled in editing where Baba said, okay, talking about these 7 ranges or 7 worlds, he calls them that sometimes. He said, there are 7 inhabited worlds. And I was thinking, what the heck does that mean when the first of them has only rocks in it? And the answer that comes to my mind is there are probably innumerable universes of the imagination that have never been thought, that have never been realized. Remember how at the very beginning, Baba was talking about, Maharaj and himself trying to count the universes. And although Baba hasn't said this, it seems to me quite possible that there are innumerable universes that have never been realized. Maybe they don't work. Maybe their cosmological constants don't work, So that's just a thought on that point.
Oh,
I'm-
that's interesting. I never thought of that they don't work.
Yeah. Like the gravity is
Yeah,
2% off, and thus it does. You've heard probably how all these cosmological constants have to be exactly what there are to a 1 billionth part. Well, maybe in the infinite imagination, most of it is never used because it's not workable.
yeah. I mean,
Anyway,
I've had lots of ideas that don't work.
we would have to have infinite intelligence readers and to really run anywhere with this. I don't want to get too far from this book because
it's like
Baba didn't.
genetics.
Yeah.
It's like genetics. You have this constant flow of
Yeah.
options, and a lot don't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Christina. That was good.
Yeah.
And Diana.
Yeah, this is not a developed idea in my mind yet. I just have all these things coming together, and maybe you can help me
Good.
put it together. And I would like to look back at, Jim brought up some reference to the future. How is this, connected with the future? And I'm thinking about the recent pictures that are coming back from way out, far away, that are amazing the scientists. And it's not just what's there, but the questions that scientists are asking. And I was listening to a radio show just the other day where some scientist was bringing up some questions, and one of the questions was like, why do we have this universe? Why is it here? And of course, they want to know how it's here and how it got here, but also what's the purpose of the universe? And it's so interesting to me that here in all of these readings, we see the word love coming back over and over again. And in today's lecture, not just at the end, but the rupees and the love.
Yeah.
So I find that.
Yeah. Notice how Baba really came to love and he had a good excuse for it with these 3 planets. Isn't it funny that in that sea planet, where there's no love, they can communicate without ever talking? I would have thought that was an occult power and you'd need to be advanced to do it, but apparently not. I guess just through intellect you can do it.
Okay. Thank you, Diana. Marianne.
J. Baba Ward.
Jai Baba, Marianne.
Can you explain to me how this source diagram says from Dr. Ghani's unpublished draft, the center, what do you call it? Range is H. And so could you explain what's going on there between the G and the H thing? The naming of that.
There are like many source diagrams for this. And so we wound up going through them all and coming out with what seemed to us to be the most logical way of doing it. Like I think here it's E is the far right-hand one.
Right.
But the principle, these just seem to be sequential labels. Yeah, if you really want to get into that, you can read the endnotes. Actually, notes on the figures will say a lot more about the sources too.
Okay. So the one below that, Ramju's, is like G, is G the center one there?
I think it is. I can't quite read at the moment.
I can't
think
read
it
it
may be.
Okay.
But there must be about 8 or 10 of these ranged over the various sources. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
quite
that.
a few. Yeah. This one is rich. This
Can you
diagram
make it bigger so we can see what you guys are talking about? Thanks.
I think we may be at the limit. No, here we go. No, we can a little bit. Yeah. HG. I can't at the moment read it all that well, but I think we didn't think that the actual letters were all that important. The point was that they're just because you see in this one here, Ghani put D on the creator point. So thus this range starts with E, F, G, H, I, J, K, because D has been used up. But the other forms of the versions of the diagram don't do that. So we didn't think that the precise letter was that important.
Okay,
These are
thank
good
you.
questions. You know, you can go into the creation of the diagrams too. I mean, we had to make a lot of choices, and a lot
I'm
of them are
sure.
editorial choices, and all of this can be called into question or rethought or anything like that.
Well, I think
This
you've done a
section on the
fantastic
notes
job.
on the figures, here, since it comes up, I'm just going to show you very quickly what that looks like, because that's a whole part of the book. I mean, these things took huge amount of time.
Mm.
See, look at those. I mean, every little paragraph of those notes represents like 15 hours of work.
Mm.
You know, because you had to actually read all the sources. Okay.
Thank you so much for all the work you have done.
Well, there are going to be genius scholars who will come along in the future, and that will happen. We'll come to the age of it always happens after a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time getting right. Let me really quickly try to get there, because I would like you to be aware that there is this section, since it's coming up in our conversations here, on notes on the figures. Yeah. Okay. Here's the story of evolution. We haven't gone into this yet. That will come up soon. But here is, sorry, it's scrolling slowly. Okay. Here's mystical astronomy and the processional of the planets. And so the first section here, the planetary processional, goes over this matter of the different number of ranges and stuff like that. And the question of whether there are 3 planets or 18,000. Here's a very significant, on the right-hand page, a very significant quote from Francis Brabazon took down notes on this subject. Oh, actually, that's this one here. 18,000 worlds or 3. So this topic is really discussed here. And the 3 worlds and the 7 suns, just talking about this principle here. So this would be something for people who want to go into this further. But here are the notes on the figures. And these are really detailing what all the sources for them were. The inner and the outer eyes, and the light globe, the world and the suns, and the 3 worlds and the 7 suns, the system. So it will list what all of the sources were, and sometimes we'll comment on what was selected for use in the actual figures we have in this book. So that's all there. I just want you to know that that's all there. I mean,
yeah, and the time is getting closer for the book to be coming out.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
take heart, folks. It will
Yeah.
happen someday.
Yeah.
So I wanted to check with Paula. You had your hand up earlier. Did you want to ask a question? Or I hate to see people get discouraged, but
Yeah.
No, that's okay. I
Oh,
just, I'm really visual and I just see things, and the way I was seeing it was, this is, I was thinking about how Baba said to see him is like the brilliance of the light of a billion suns. And
Yeah.
so I'm seeing this as like a dissemination of his light, which is his love,
Right.
and that it has to be leaped. Otherwise, he can't, it has to have these kinds of processions in order to exist. Otherwise, it couldn't do it.
okay.
I don't know if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I mean,
everybody,
like
but
in this one here, where on planet Earth, we're just seeing a reflection of the Earth in space, and that reflection receiving the light of the light globe. But the light globes themselves are just shadows of the real light. So we don't
yeah,
have any in our gross plane, any idea what that real light. If we had one instant of it, we would die.
yeah, we'd be incinerated.
Yeah. Yeah.
on many levels.
Yeah, and one of the many ways that some of these worlds don't work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cheryl, you haven't had a chance yet.
Yeah, I just would like more to go back to that last part of this chapter where Bob was talking about love. Love should be created without strain. I'd like to write that whole quote down. If you could just put it up for, and someone else can then ask a question.
Well, okay, we might have to move on, but here it is. As this book is going to be out here soon. Also, there are other portions of it. Back in the history, which we've skipped over, there is an entry from this very period where Baba says this more about how create love, Anandit, should be blissful, light love, not heavy or burdensome. So there's another important statement from him there in this earlier part of the book that we've skipped over here.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see, Lindsay.
Hi.
You, Lindsay.
I guess one of the striking things about this image of the 7 suns for me is that A is the reflection of the light onto A becomes a sun for B. So the people on B see 2 suns, but one of them is where that world is going.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that descends. So I just think that's quite beautiful and interesting. And then the other thing is that these ranges are waves, right? We got that.
Yeah, they are.
Several chapters ago. So I was trying, the logical part of me was trying to figure out, well, how does planet, let's call it D, which comes out of the 6th range, also come out of the 7th range? Because you were saying there are probably 18,000 planets or worlds, whatever, in the 7th range. I don't know, I think this is a principle more than it's a real, like anything with forms. And so, but at any rate, I was thinking that when you look, remembering my physics class in high school, and we had wave tanks and we could set the nodes that created the waves in different places. And the interface and the interference of the different waves created different, it created a lot of things, but it created different vibrations, almost levels of waves and so on. And that, so you could have the ranges constantly interfering, meaning intersecting, and creating the way that all of this actually fits together.
Yeah, that's true. You've seen a lot of those, graphs of waves interacting with crests and troughs and all that sort of thing as they overlap on each other. This diagram, which is going to come up later, you see here on the 4th stage here, you see those different layers there. That's where Pran breaks into 7 divisions. And I think it's very likely that would have something to do with the 7 waves that we're talking about here. But it happens at that stage, the 4th plane stage. There are so many things that are interconnected. Like some of the like Christina brought up about thinking and the imagination, all those sorts of things. What we're doing here is just the first stage of a primary reading of this text. But in the future, there are going to be all kinds of in-depth analyses that will bring other books like God Speaks and Infinite Intelligence much more in relation to that. But you have to read a book first before you can do all of that.
Thank you. Anything else, Lindsay? Was that it?
That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. I wanted to make a comment just in general. When I hear people try to reduce Baba's teaching into a series of logical assertions, it kind of hurts my heart. And I want to refer back to something Christina said earlier about how when you are really focused in on this and it's starting to flow, that feeling of flow is to me, number one, magic, but number two, tapping into those moments that Baba was speaking to the boys and absorbing some of that atmosphere. And to me, that is the true magic of studying these things, that I can always trust that even if my logic fails me, that will come through and pull me out of the fire. Anyway, we have Jim. Did you talk yet? I think Elizabeth's next. Let me go with Elizabeth first.
Okay. Look, you referred back to the chart Dr. Ghani had done that's similar to the octopus chart. And in that, the subscript, the caption is 10 states of God. And it immediately hit me, the A, B, and C in that are similar to the beyond God state, underneath the beyond God state in one of the diagrams in God Speaks. And I was wondering if they happen to be the same, because it would actually make sense if it were, right under the beyond state, you have 3 different states of God that are all part of the beyond state of God. One is the unconscious God, one is the conscious one, and one is the one out of which Ishwar comes. I'm getting the names wrong, but you know what I'm talking about.
Well, those seem like different things to me.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 primordial states of God. Like A is the infinite unconsciousness, and it's out of that the entire journey arises to be. And C is the 10th state of God, essentially. Whereas these are 3 planets that are, differing from each other in their proportionality of intellect and love. So it looks like something different to me.
So I wonder why he labeled it the 10 states of God.
Well, yeah, no, that's from that chapter. He wrote this book in 1947, 48, 49. Baba was dictating to him, and then he never finished it. And then he died during the New Life. And when Baba reviewed it after the New Life, Baba was very dissatisfied. And he went back and dictated all over again to Erich. But Ghani's manuscript does have the original draft of that chapter, the 10 states of God. But there's a lot more in it than what's in the chapter as Erich wrote it out, and it includes this kind of thing.
The print was so small, I thought it read the 10 states of God, but it just says unpublished draft of, so it's part of. Okay, I see that. Thank you.
That chapter called the 10 states of God in his manuscript.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I've also heard some people tempted to think of worlds A, B, and C as representing the gross, the subtle, and the mental, and that doesn't.
It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it.
So we have to be careful in trying to make these analogies.
Well, I mean, it's natural to try to understand this, and that's one place to go, but it doesn't look like it at all to me.
And Jim.
Thank you. I'm kind of really fascinated by the conversation that we're having. It reminds me to a large extent when Diana brought up the idea of the scientist asking the question, why all of this? That one of the things that in our education, I feel that we were given answers, and instead of arousing our curiosity and our inner faith, so to speak, in our own humanity, to ask questions. Oftentimes you come away from a course and you've got all these answers, and your ability to really seek your own inner understanding, to ask the questions that are most meaningful to you. And that's what this is kind of reminding me of, that the question has to arise within you before the answer can really be deeply absorbed, something of that nature. And I feel like we're doing that. We're asking all these questions about the beautiful stuff that Baba is giving to us. And the right to ask a question is, I think, born within us. You know, we have that, we can ask questions, and this is what we're doing. And eventually, I think, once the question has arisen, then you seek sources, and then you find that Baba is going to be the source to all answer to all these questions. He becomes the ultimate source. And so when you mentioned that scientist asking that question, it makes me feel that Baba's going to really influence science in a new way. That scientists will stop the idea that faith is some baloney. And I'm not talking about faith in a particular way of thinking, but faith in your inner ability to ask the question and be connected to something that is truly beyond you, you know, something of that nature. But this feels like that to me. It's really a wonderful conversation that we're having.
Thank
Yeah,
you
you
for
know,
saying it, Jim.
when you read all of this, it's hard. It certainly looks like Baba is pointing the way towards a new development in science. A lot of this is very scientific, actually. It's hard not to notice that. And yeah, it really makes me think. And here's the thing. Some of what, I mean, some of the foundations of this look like you would have to be spiritually advanced to know it, you know? So it may be necessary for a future science to accept certain revealed truths as a basis for us explorations, which of course, you know, the scientific method won't do now, but it may be necessary. And to take,
once there's a greater understanding of the subtle, I think will help in our analysis of the material, you know, and if we're going to kind of deny the aspect of anything that's transcendent, something actually beyond matter, which science is kind of limited to what their instruments can tell them. So here we are getting this incredible dispensation from Baba. And it's just, like everybody has said so many times, it's just so incredibly beautiful.
Yeah, it really is a beautiful picture that he's creating, isn't it? I mean, look at that.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to tack on to that with the comment that, you know, it is so incredibly rich. You know, Ward and I talk about how we're just disseminators, right? We're putting it out there as much as possible. And everybody who comes to these meetings and contributes some of their thoughts, even if you think it's just, you know, a silly thing, I think it really does help people to have the courage to delve into this, because it does seem daunting at first. And I'm very, very pleased that you said that, Jim. Thanks. Marianne.
Yeah, Ward, could we see the very last page of these two lectures again and highlight that last paragraph? Yeah, that
The stuff about the 16 annas. No, that's the end.
Where's the paragraph where he talks? Oh, is this it? Oh, this is it. Okay. All right. You already showed that. My misunderstanding. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. What Diana brought up about.
Okay, I don't.
Just the, you know, the all powerfulness of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Melissa.
My view of science, speaking as someone where that was my professional background, is that science, by definition, operates in time and space, which I equate to the gross world. So I don't believe that I prefer to call it science any longer when it expands to the subtle and the mental. And I think that it's worthwhile keeping that caveat in mind so that we don't look to scientists with their constraints to time and space to explain these deeper materials to us. That isn't to say that we can't be logical in our thought or anything of those sorts. But science really depends on X and T, you know,
let's be clear about that. And X and T are parameters in growth space. So that's my little cautionary note.
No, that's a very good thing. In the past, I would say that the sciences that we had then were much more inclined to be metaphysical. So whether you call it science or whether you call it something else, I do agree that we're not going to try to find confirmation for what Baba has said in science is really a bad road to go down, because we're coming from the avatar of the age. But I do think whether it's science or something else, we're going to have new branches of knowledge that will come out of this. I mean, here Baba is really talking about suns and moons and stars, and their genesis or something. What do you think we should call that, Melissa, if we don't call it science?
I don't have a good name for it.
Metascience?
Pardon?
Metascience?
Yeah, metascience might be it, or we can just think of it as the people who have a deep spiritual grounding. And what do we call them? They're the philosophers, or what are they? Anyway, it isn't going to be the scientists as we have known them, even if there have been scientists in the past who, as human beings, encompassed both of those abilities and ability to traverse both of those realms, the realm of the head and the realm of the heart.
Yeah. Well, if you go way back to people like Aristotle, all of these branches of knowledge, he was the one who actually started to differentiate them, but he was, they're mingled with each other more.
Yes, wasn't it called natural philosophy?
Yeah.
And so it's going to be something more like that, where we find this meeting, but not in what is at least currently defined as science.
Right.
That's what I like so much about this conversation, is that you can't say everything in one mouthful.
Yeah.
And so some things that were not included or what have you are brought in by other people. I think it's a wonderful picture that we're drawing here.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. So Miriam has her hand up.
So I just want to make a comment that, it's interesting that Baba is apparently giving all of these intellectual descriptions, and yet talking about being more loving, and that, the intellect has to go completely in order to realize God. And, so that's just interesting to me, that it is apparently intellectual. The other thing I want to say that, I study embryology and teach embryology, and the lecture about the eyes and the forehead and, that it so matches embryological development. And, there's a lot more I could say about that, but it's just interesting to me that, like Jim was talking about, as above, so below, and those concepts at least can be directly applied to, the actual development of the embryo, which, includes this moment of fertilization, right? Where the sperm, which is one opposite, and the egg, which is the other opposite, they come together and create a new human being, which, mirrors the creation of the universe, as Bob is describing it. And so I think, that science can at least take that from this material, that, what's happening in the other worlds, or the higher worlds, is reflected in the processes of this world.
Good thoughts.
Yeah.
Thank you. Marianne, did you want to? Marianne? Lewis?
Oh, thank you. I took my hand back down because I thought Christina kind of addressed this. Baba says that we're here to balance the head and the heart. He didn't say be intellectual, but the head and the heart, and that is intuition, and that is God. So some of this is semantics, what words we use, for what. And I thought he said he would be in his next advent a scientist. I may be wrong about that. I don't have that in front of me. So I think sometimes, the meaning of words we're debating them. So I think that the sciences, of course, will change, as everybody is saying. The mouth will not be working so much. It'll be eyes, ears, those openings, and this one covered pretty much. But anyway, I just wanted to say that about what's in the discourses about the balancing of the head and the heart. And that is intuition, and that is God, which I find very, very pleasing and comforting and beautiful. That's all.
Thank you, Mary.
There are sections of this that, like where he's giving his explanation of this whole process, that are very intensively intellectual. I mean, he's describing a whole intricate process of reflections, and you have to go from A to A prime and B to B prime. And so these kids, their intellects were being stretched and brought into the process. But then at the end of it, he comes to this theme: you have to just have 16 annas of love and 0 of intellect. So it just, this is no new insight. We've been observing this all along, but it seems so obvious that Baba was doing major time work with the head and the heart here.
All right, Elizabeth.
Furthering on what Jim had to say about the importance of this chat and all this discussion, all the different perspectives. I particularly enjoyed Miriam, I think it is, who talked about embryology. That was really nice. I hope we are capturing the what's in the chat as well, because there are a lot of fantastic comments in there. And whether it gets given to other people or not, I hope that you and Ward will have it to use, I don't know, for further discussions or whatever. But I've been copying over a lot of the comments just in an email to myself, because I think they're so important, interesting ways to think differently. And once again, it's teaching me I really have to read Infinite Intelligence and study it, because it seems almost impossible to understand this without having an understanding of In God's Hand and Infinite Intelligence.
So let me just say that everybody has the ability to save their own chat, which will capture everything that has been publicly shown. So if you click on the chat window and click on the 3 dots on the right-hand side, you'll see there's a line there that says Save Chat. So you're free to use that.
Yeah, that's not available on iPad, but you can still copy and paste to an email if people have iPads.
Christina. Did we lose you, Christina? Oh, there she is. No? She might have a cat emergency.
There we go.
Oh, there she is.
Okay.
So this subject of the annas of love, I like that. I'm going to make a t-shirt that says the annas of love. I have cats, 2 cats, and I'm going to say that my cats love me. They love me to the extent that they can, to the extent that their sanskaras proscribe the radius of their capability of loving. And so, yes, they love me, but their love is subservient to their desire for satisfaction and existence and life and survival. So they love me, but I must feed them. They might not love me as much if I didn't feed them. So I think in that same way on, I don't know, it seems weird to say it, those planets where people have 100% intellect, Just sounds weird. Those people simply have not progressed too far past cats. I'm joking, but they have not progressed too far beyond self-service. And to my mind, the annas of love are not the annas of affection or sentimentality or hugging, things like that. Those are all done in the service of preservation, in one's ability to create a sense of obligation from and to oneself and others in community that makes it all work and be a good place to raise children. So to my mind, this love that Meher Baba is talking about is that which would not be, it is that which would not be defined as anything I've just said. It, to my mind, is that which is about selflessness. And my cats are never going to be selfless. They're just never going to be. And so those people on those 100% intellect planets, I don't know, maybe there's really 7 perfect masters and one of them's on like the best of those planets or something, because it would be, I can't even imagine how it would happen that 100% intellect would get 0.1% of empathy, you know, or of like really the ability to become the first step towards selfless. And that's what the love means to me. I read in Infinite Intelligence in the section on Bhakti Yoga about how love is developed, how it is created. And like Baba says right here,
From
we just read it.
Sakam to Nishkam.
Yeah. So love must be created. I mean, those look like words to me. Love must be created. It isn't like, you know, I just feel love, you know. It is this selflessness or this this empathy, and that's really, I think, what he's talking about. I mean, that word love is like so loaded. It means so many things for different people. But that's how I see it, is that the annas of love are about getting away from instinct and self-preservation. Hard to do.
Yeah,
Very
that's
interesting.
probably true. That makes sense to me. You know, in God Speaks, Baba says that there are 3 parts to the mind: thinking, feeling, and desire. And he says that desire is the highest, which might seem counterintuitive at first. But, you know, having thought about that a lot myself, it strikes me that what is love? Love is desire completely purified of selfishness. It's sort of like the highest expression of desire is mera, which is pure love. And lesser desire is love in ignorance, where I've misidentified what it is that I love. So I bet you, I mean, in these planets, they've got to have cravings and desires and all kinds of things like that operative. So I think I agree with what you're saying, that when he's talking about 0% feelings of love, he's talking about the emergence of a true selfless love. I mean, they're probably just very selfish people on those planets, just like everywhere else.
Beautiful. Well, we're going to give Wendy K the last word, and then I'll stop the recording.
Right.
Wendy, did you have a question or comment?
Well, if I would be the last one on the list, but anyway. So for me, first of all, this is way out of my comfort zone. First of all, I fell in love with Baba a long, long time ago, and the intellect, not so much for me, but in the last few years, I have been learning more and more, reading more and more books. Okay, so I'm going to start from there. So my leap to be able to participate in these types of platforms is I listen. I don't put any judgment in there. I just listen. And sometimes I feel something in my body and I go, oh, you know, and just let that be. But after I leave this, or when I've listened to them, I've gone outside in nature. And then just ask if there's something that you want me to have gotten from this, can you give it to me in a more natural way? That's how I function in the world, through experience out in nature. And it can be just as simple as a leaf falling or watching a squirrel chase something or whatever. So I love listening to all of this, and I love hearing what everybody's saying, but that's my platform. And if I don't interact, it's not that I'm not enjoying it. I truly am enjoying everything that I'm hearing. So thank you.
So perfect that you said that. Thank you.
So thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to stop the recording here. Is that okay? And well, actually, let's say the Beloved's Prayer before I do that.
Yeah,
that's our tradition. Go ahead and unmute if you would like to join us in saying the Beloved's Prayer. Beloved God,
help us all to love you more and more.
Still yet more. Till we become worthy
of union
with you.
and help us all
hold fast Baba's Dhamma till the very end.
Avatar Meher Baba
Hey.
Avatar Meher Baba
Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Thank you, Ward. Thank you to all of our
Thank you, Ward.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Ward. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey,
all.
Baba.
Yeah.